What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to Grayson Media Inc. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe across all platforms. Enjoy the show. Grayson out.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Grayson Politics Live, a Grayson Media Inc. production. I'm Grayson, your host. Tonight, we're joined by Jersey City Ward B Councilman Joel Brooks for an important and community-focused conversation surrounding Ward B and Jersey City overall. Transparency in government, city finances, public safety, sanitation, infrastructure, development, healthcare concerns, staffing, and residency requirements, taxpayer accountability, traffic, congestion, just a mouthful. But as we like to call his ward in we're a national show, but basically we focus on local politics as well. And I'm based here in New Jersey, in Jersey City, and we focus, as we like to say, West Side is the best side. So I'm a Ward B resident. So also, as always on this platform, the conversation remains about professional, respectful, and balanced, transparent, and solutions oriented. The goal is to give residents direct access to people representing them while discussing issues of affecting everyday life throughout Jersey City and overall. So let me bring our guest up. Let's see here. Okay, and where's my media assets? First of all, Councilman, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Grayson. How are you?
Good, and thank you. I'm gonna applaud you. So let's get started. Before we begin with the questions, I want to give you the floor and the opportunity to introduce yourself directly to the audience and discuss your background, your priorities, your vision for Ward B, and anything else you would like residents to know at the beginning of tonight's conversation.
Sure. So again, thank you for having me. My name is Joel Brooks. I am the pretty newly sworn in council member from Ward B in Jersey City. Was sworn in January of this year. Was fortunate to win the runoff in December. And we were also, I'm proud to say, the top vote getter in the November general election as well. So I decided to run this time around because I still felt that the West Side was not getting its fair share, its attention that we deserve. So in 2021, I ran for city council, and we came within 200 votes of unseating the former councilwoman who was, on Mayor Phillips' slate, and came so close. We had to try again. We kept engaged. We stayed engaged in the community, did some tenant organizing, helped pass the right to counsel for tenants in Jersey City. And Commissioner O'Day reached out. He asked to work with me when he ran for mayor, and was also grateful to receive the Democratic Socialists of America endorsement, as well as the Working Families Party, the AFL-CIO. So we built a really strong and diverse coalition. And we were out there. We were knocking on doors. If you were a frequent voter in Ward B, you definitely heard from us in November and December. So I'm excited to be in the seat, learning how Jersey City government functions and how we can improve its functioning, making sure that the residents come first, but also making sure that we, treat our workers fairly. So that's who I am. That's what I'm all about.
Yes, I agree with you in reference towards workers treating workers fairly. As you see this pin here, I'm a Hotel Trades Council car carrying member, so and a delegate car carrying, or as they say, shop steward or everywhere else. But so that's very near and dear to my heart. So, Councilman Brooks, thank you for taking the time to lay a foundation to the viewers tonight. Let's transition into some issues residents across Ward B and Jersey City have been discussing. So, what's the biggest concern for you currently that you hear from residents from Ward B now that you're elected?
So I'm going to share two. One is parking. And I think parking reflects a few different things. One is the lack of mass transit that we have, and, servicing the West Side. And I think if, we had better, more frequent, more reliable mass transit, we would have less people driving, less cars on the road. And then the other top issue we hear from residents about is housing, whether that's they need housing, or they're not living in safe or healthy conditions, that there's a landlord that is, not doing what they're supposed to do in terms of maintaining a safe and healthy environment. Also questions about rent control, people's rights. And so I'd say parking, unfortunately, and housing are the top two issues we hear from people on.
Yeah, I know you had recently a Ward B town hall where residents, unfortunately I wasn't able to, due to my work schedule, I wasn't able to make it, but I was told through sources that who did attend that yes, that parking is very much of an issue in Ward B, overall in the city, but definitely Ward B focus. Do you believe Ward B has historically received equitable attention and investment compared to other parts of Jersey City?
Um, in terms of attention, I mean, I think we're starting to get more attention. Um, we have what some people call naturally occurring affordable housing, where you have, 2 and 3 family homes that are their market rate, but they're not, like downtown or the Heights or Journal Square rates. So we do have, people coming here that were priced out of downtown. Maybe they're looking for more space, or they're not able to buy downtown, so they buy here. Um, in terms of attention, I mean, the kind of the attention to sanitation and the care of our roads, street safety. These are all things that we could really improve on, and so that's what we're doing.
Speaking of sanitation, getting into that, residents frequently mention sanitation, illegal dumping, speeding, as we saw unfortunately this weekend, traffic congestion, double parking, potholes, and deteriorating roads. And what do you have to say about that? From the Ward B residents that reached out to me in reference towards that.
I think those are all, could kind of go under quality of life, right? I mean, especially, put yourself in the position of a homeowner who invested in property in Jersey City. Taxes have not gone down, right? But services have not gone up. And so I think people, rightfully so, are upset when they see, um, you know, regional, our sanitation contractor maybe not living up to their end of the bargain. A lot of people don't know one of their responsibilities is to clear the receptacles that are on the corners. So, that is not our DPW staff that is not doing their job. It's regional not living up to their end of the bargain. In terms of the quality of the roads, I mean, we have a lot of utility work going on. I know that, and this is a good thing, where we have the lead pipe testing going on, and so streets get shut down, streets get torn up, and I think that kind of all kind of combines to cause some level of kind of anxiety and dissatisfaction. So, we try to be as responsive as possible when people reach out to us about any of those issues. One, win that I want to highlight, we haven't posted about it, is Fairmount Triangle Park. It's on Summit and Fairmount. There's 2 phases. The first phase is open, and I encourage people to bring their kids there. The second phase is not, and there was illegal dumping. The weeds were overgrown. The fence was broken open. We reached out to the city and the county. The county took care of the dumping. That's their role. And now Jersey City DPW has secured the fence, and they'll be cleaning the kind of brush there all summer. So those are things that, they were just kind of like low hanging fruit, that, we need to pay attention to all those things, all those little nooks and crannies of Ward B, to make sure that people want to live here and they feel proud to live here.
Before becoming mayor of then Councilman now Mayor James Solomon, but he was Mayor-elect James Solomon, publicly discussed concerns about involving regional industries during the campaign trail, and whether the city should move in another direction once contracts expire. Do you support potentially moving away from regional industries when their contract ends, like maybe to waste management, or maybe we should go back to doing our own garbage with DPW like we did years ago when I used to see when I was little?
Yeah, I mean, I think the long-term goal is to bring it back in-house completely, but that will be a short-term expense for a long-term savings. And in terms of adding expenses right now, and I'm sure we'll get into the budget situation, it's not, we're not in a position to buy a fleet of garbage trucks and hire, a fleet of workers. So I know the new DPW director is looking at ways, different elements that could be brought in-house. And so I think he's, the right guy to do that. That's James Levy, coming in from Manhattan. The staff is really excited, seems pretty excited to work with him. And he brings a lot of knowledge and expertise. So I think he's going to tackle that and, bring that to the council as needed.
Got it. What is the current paving budget for Jersey City overall? And specifically, what is the timeline for the budget in paving Mallory Avenue? I live between Mallory and on Virginia, between Mallory and Bennett and 440. And Mallory is horrible. I mean, it's an inherited situation that you had, not for you to blame. From the former mayor and the former council person. I've complained to her and got zero response from her. And your former predecessor, Prince Airy, who is now the economic director, I've complained to her too. Because I've lived in Ward B for a while now. Since like 2019, me and my family. And so what's your take on that?
I don't know what the schedule is. I can find out and get back to you. I think that, and I'll be very candid, I don't know if there is one currently. I'm sure all the ward council people have a long list of, this block and that street that need to be milled and repaved. So, I have my list too. But we have not been given a schedule. That's a reasonable question. And I think that's the kind of thing, the kind of transparency that Mayor Solomon wants to work towards. So I will I will find out and get back to you.
Got you. I appreciate that. What makes Ward B unique compared to the other areas and the other wards in Jersey City?
I mean, we have two colleges. We have St. Peter's and NJCU, which is becoming Kane over the summer. So we do have a lot of teachers and academics and staff that live and work in our neighborhood. So that's the unique part. We also have Lincoln Park, which is a beautiful, beautiful county park with active recreation, as well as Lincoln Park West, which is, really special. If you haven't been, there, I really recommend it. And the character of the people, we're incredibly diverse. People ask me like, oh, what's the biggest group of voters in Ward B? And I really couldn't tell you in terms of like ethnicity or nationality. And so I think that means when elected officials are running for re-election or running for election, you really have to speak universally because, we have a large Filipino population, Latinos from all different countries, folks from the Caribbean, all different countries, Africa, the Arabic-speaking Middle East and Central Asia. I mean, just Vietnamese. There's a tight-knit Vietnamese community here, and then also you have your second and third generation Jersey City residents whose ancestors came from Europe, Ireland, Italy, and so you have to speak universally here. And so I think that it encapsulates Jersey City, but it is unique.
I agree with that. I believe Ward B is definitely a melting pot. So I agree with that. Let's go into the finances of the city. And there has been a significant public discussion regarding Jersey City's financial situation and reported budget deficit. What is your overall assessment of where the city stands financially?
I will credit the mayor for keeping the council up to date and briefing us on kind of where we stand. And he even started that before we were sworn in, to his credit. So, when people view, if you watch our council meetings or you read what happens in the news, we're in the midst of the second emergency temporary authorization. What that means is we've authorized a temporary budget on a 90-day basis, and that is pending the final budget. So that number is based on what the mayor and his finance team have kind of like, looking under every rock and seeing like, where do we owe money, right? What bills are unpaid, what charges were deferred. And so the number that, we have authorized in two chunks is $920 million. Now that encapsulates previous year's spending that was deferred. And, the mayor's approach has been to try to pay for everything this year. So it will be a painful year in terms of, tax increases. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But the idea is that if we kind of take our medicine now, that it'll be a shorter kind of recovery period. Now, I say that with, the caveat that as council people, we're going to dig in to the budget and, an increase is inevitable, but we want to make sure that it's fair and that we can justify it.
I agree. Basically, you're cleaning up a mess from the previous administration, the previous council. I've been to some council meetings under your predecessors, and I haven't been able, but I've been watching from afar the current council meetings, and it seems like you guys are headed in the right direction. Do you believe taxpayers deserve a more detailed explanation regarding how the city reached this financial situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the mayor has been fairly detailed. I know I've gotten some questions that are even more detailed, and I think there's nothing to hide. So um, residents should have their questions answered. Um, what was the second part of your question?
And well, basically, I said, do you believe taxpayers deserve a more detailed explanation regarding how the city reached this financial situation? Basically, like, because, like, do you believe these issues warrant deeper review, like an investigation, like which the council has the right to do, under the former administration?
Um, I'm open to it. I've heard the request, the demands for an investigation. Um, you know, I know the press has asked the mayor, should the former mayor himself be investigated? And, he said that could be left up to a different venue or, different entity. Um, One thing I'd like residents to consider is, if we spend a lot of time on this investigation, that is less time that we have to spend, improving services, answering constituent requests. And, I'm not saying we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. But an investigation, it could, that could take a lot of different forms, but I'm open to it.
Yeah, because you guys can hire, independent outside counsel for this 250 million dollar mess. Is that something that you guys have power to do that? Is that something that you guys have discussed? Well, I'm not going to ask what you guys discuss amongst yourself, but you guys do have the power to do that. I'm sure you are aware.
There is a fair degree of transparency already. There's the annual financial statement that is a public document. You do have to kind of be a wonk to understand what it means and how to read it. And then there's an audited financial statement. So if people are saying we don't trust those two documents, I guess again I'm open to the conversation. I guess the question I would ask those folks is if we need to hire someone else to do that. I mean, that's another expense, right? So, and are they going to just tell us what we already know, which is we have a deficit, that charges were deferred? I think the mayor said it pretty plainly that there were practices that were engaged in previous years that, while they may not have been criminal, and that's not for us to say, they certainly kind of were deceptive. So, we're paying health insurance and retirement bills for years past that should have been budgeted for and paid for in years past. So, that's where we are.
Got it. Do you support quarterly uh, public financial meetings where residents can hear directly from city leadership regarding the budget and finances?
I think that's reasonable. Yeah, I mean, this year, I know the mayor's intention was to have a budget, in the first half of the year, and that's just not going to be possible because we're waiting for the state aid. And the state budget will be passed on June 30th. So that will, once we have that number, that will allow us to put together our final budget in July and August, hopefully in July. Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I think that's especially now, and especially when most likely we will be asking folks for a tax increase. I think that's a reasonable request.
Speaking of tax increase, I don't mind one. I'm not a homeowner, but I'm a renter. But everything trickles down, of course. Every time I renew my lease, my landlord says, "Hey, MUA went up, water went up, and stuff." So I have to, and my taxes went up, so I have to go up on your rent, or whatever. And he's a reasonable landlord, and it's not a slumlord or anything like that. I have a great landlord, so that's one of the reasons why we've been here for a reasonable amount of time, and especially in Ward B. We love the neighborhood, we love uh the ward overall. But if taxes are going to be increased once we hopefully get out this mess, and the mayor wants to pay everything outright, wouldn't it be, would you support, or wouldn't it be make sense for, once we get out of this mess and this hole, for taxes to revert back down? Would you be in a support of a plan of that? Because the taxes going up, that means my rent is going to go up. That means homeowners property taxes are going to go up. The JC what, if I'm not mistaken, there uh Board of Ed just raised their, for the property taxes for the homeowners and stuff like that. So would you be in support of a plan that, once we get out this mess, for taxes to go back like down, or at least revert back to where they are now?
I mean, that sounds like a great idea. I just don't know if it's possible. I think, um, will we have, the charges that we have this year, right? So we're paying for charges that have been deferred from years past. Now, next year, hopefully we will have less or none of those charges, right? At the same time, the cost of providing services and running a government always increases, right? The product of government is a service, and the people that provide those provide those services are unionized, and they are, negotiating contracts, and so the cost of their labor and the services they provide is, that's never going down, right? And we want our city employees to be paid fairly, treated fairly, want to stay here, retained. So yeah, I mean, in terms of next year's budget, I think we can't even project that until we see what kind of state aid is coming. And once we do, that will kind of allow us to plan for next year and the year after as well.
That's fair. That's a fair answer. I appreciate that. And in reference towards, so let's transition in reference towards Christ Hospital. One recent op-ed called for the New Jersey Attorney General to investigate issues surrounding Christ Hospital and related public concerns. What is your related reaction to those calls? Excuse me.
Sure. So I will be transparent. I am an employee of HPAE. That's the Healthcare Workers Union, that represents the nurses at Christ Hospital and Bayonne Medical Center and HRH and C Caucus. So I'm not going to comment on that directly. What I will say generally,
Mhm.
Jersey City needs more than one acute care hospital. So, Jersey City Medical Center is, overburdened. by the the needs of the city, and we have residents that are they're leaving Jersey City for care. They're going to Hackensack. They're going to Bayonne. A lot of folks go to New York, and so that listen, you can go. You should have the freedom to go where the doctor is that you want. But in terms of acute care and especially emergency services, we need more than one hospital in Jersey City. So I leave it up to the powers that be that are working on that, and I've recused myself from votes involving HRH. So I just want to be transparent about that.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and being transparent and not having any conflict of interest in reference towards that. And so I definitely respect that. That's very admirable of you. In reference towards what you said, and back to the city workers and them being unionized, my contract is up in July. Our master contract, HTC, Hotel Trades Council, and so I definitely just going back to that point, empathize and understand. It's gonna probably be a fight, which we don't want that for the city workers, but yeah, I understand how costs can go up in reference towards, when you have unionized employees, which I wholeheartedly support. So most definitely.
Yeah, and that's actually, I didn't say this in my intro, but that is my background. I've been a union organizer and a union representative for a little over 20 years now. And so that's how I approach government, and that's how I approach campaigning. Is in the labor world, you have to build a coalition of people at the workplace, right? I don't have to tell you, right? What unites people is you all have the same boss, you all have the same name on your paycheck, but people are from all different countries, they have all different job titles, speak different languages. So that is, how I approach campaigning and governing, which is, bringing people together from different viewpoints, finding out what the common issues are, and fighting for those issues, and also engaging people to fight for themselves as well. And on the unionized employees of Jersey City, a lot of them, if not most of them, live here, and so they're living here and benefiting from the services that they and their coworkers provide. And their cost of living is not going down either, right? And so that's why I think it's really important that we treat our employees fairly, and that's not something the previous administration did.
So we have a question from one of your Ward B residents, Esther Winter, who was very vocal, I'm sure, at the council meetings. And she said, "You said Solomon wants to pay bills in one shot and take the medicine and fix the problem. Yet you also said that after an increase to cover these bills, taxes will not come down in the subsequent years. Why wouldn't they go down if the extraordinary expense have been paid?"
That's a great question. I think I don't know the exact number of the deferred charges, kind of at my fingertips, but I can look at that. But the goal is to pay all of it in one shot, and that if you separate out those charges, you get a more realistic sense of what the actual operating cost of the city is. And I think Esther may know this herself, because I know she pays very close attention. I think the true cost of operating the city without those expenses is more in the $750 to $800 million a year range. But in future years, again, our costs are not going to go down, right? Our labor costs are not going to go down. The cost of energy is not going to go down. So, I just want to manage expectations that, and actually, let me speak precisely. When I say taxes won't go down, the rate of increase may go down. The raw number, I don't think will, if that makes sense.
Got it. Esther, I'm sure you heard our councilman. There have been calls to restore public comp stat reporting and hold public accountability presentations. Would you support that?
In terms of public accountability for like what happened in the past, or us as council members currently?
What happened in the past? No, you guys are too fresh to for anything. I mean, the only two people who have been on that council with respect has been Councilman Gilmore and Council President Ridley, and then now Lavaro is now, no, I mean in reference towards your predecessors who have just recently have been removed this past December.
Again, I'm open to it. I don't, do we need some kind of like a truth and reconciliation commission where, if you come forward, you get amnesty for what you did? I'm open to it. I don't want to dismiss it. I think you can see that in terms of, who the mayor has at the helm in terms of the finances. That's Bill Vichiera. That his predecessor is not there anymore. Some people who were in, director or higher up positions have kind of moved around or gone to a different position, but his predecessor is not there. She does not work for the city, and I think that's that's a good thing for the residents, because she and the former BA. I really think a lot of it comes down to the mayor, right? The mayor is the captain, and the staff that were under him had to answer to him. So that's why we are where we are.
Got it. What else? So let's move into fourth, traffic development. And residents have raised concerns about major traffic congestion on Bennett and between Mallory Avenue and Route 440, right by me. And especially near the ongoing development in the area. Like I have a building, like a 12, 14 story building right out my doorstep here, that recently is going up. And are you aware of those concerns? Like, what is being done to address them? Because, and this is like a two-part question also, because many residents say that there are times where, and I've seen it, where the number 14 New Jersey Transit bus can't even get through the road because of the gridlock and stuff. So we have like a JCPD cop there, or is that the county who should be, or state, because it's a state road there? But there's a lot of honking and stuff like that going on. I see a lot of gridlock from Monday through Friday. And so what's your take on that?
So Bennett runs parallel to 440 and kind of is like cut up into different segments, right?
Come around that loop, right when you come, or so right by the Starbucks, you're coming off 440 and coming around that loop where that new development is coming out, and then you're going out. You may be going either straight into the mall, or you may be going towards Ward A. You know what I'm
Okay.
talking
Okay.
about?
Yeah. The jug handle.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yes, I have experienced that gridlock. I mean, police over there. Yeah, I mean, I that is a state road, so it would technically be a New Jersey state trooper. I don't think they typically patrol 440. So, that's a question I think for Hudson County sheriffs and JCPD in terms of enforcement over there.
That's what I figured.
Another thing I've seen and I've heard from residents is, people getting kind of like trigger happy, so to speak, and they know there's a turning lane, so they get in the breakdown lane, right? And so, the way to curb, pardon the pun, but the way to curb those kind of maneuvers that people try to pull is when you have what's called hard infrastructure. So if you have, a raised curb or bollards that can make it impossible for people to try to, make those dangerous maneuvers, and it slows people down as well. So I have seen it. Do we need a traffic study in terms of, the light, how frequently the lights go? I'm not sure, but I know that that intersection gets just jammed. I mean, you have people coming from the highway going south. You have people coming out of the mall going north, taking a left. And then people coming around the jug handle going into the shopping center. I've seen it. When you're whatever way you're coming, you have to make that mental calculation. Like, am I going to get stuck? Yeah, that's something to put on the list. Appreciate you bringing it up.
No, I've seen you. I think when you first got elected, you had sent out a which I participated in. You had sent out a survey for I think a survey to be done, or like how is not a survey of that area specifically, but how is that going? In reference towards, I know you talked about the survey was very detailed, by the way. It was very good. About bike lanes and this and that and stuff like that, and I participated in it. So how is that feedback that you've gotten from that?
So that was a survey that was done by the Department of Infrastructure. So they hold that data. And you said you wouldn't ask me a gotcha question, but you did stump me. I have not seen the results of that survey. I mean, I do work closely with that department, but where the results of the survey are supposed to go, and I'm not saying that I think that they're not going there, because I'm sure they will, is in service of a transportation master plan for Jersey City. And so that's something that is, still in the works. So when there is more data to share, I will make sure that that gets out.
I appreciate that. How do you ensure Ward B residents benefit from the city's continued growth and development? Like, I see that um development that's right outside my doorstep here. They knocked that down, I think, in November, and it's probably going to be ready by the fall. I looked it up. I saw it on Jersey Digs and this and that and websites and stuff like that. It's probably going to be at market rates. Do you support? And I'm not a rich man. Will say this for somebody who has lived at 16 Bennett and had to move out because of it, or didn't renew my lease because it was just so expensive.
Mhm.
Do you support? Because I work in the city in New York City, and they have a lottery system, and so 20% of the the cap of the units get uh get pushed down to a reasonable amount, where they, and then you have rest is market rate, but these are subsidized. Do you support that kind of? Because I know the mayor talked about the $1,000 rent and stuff, and we just in the hole and stuff like that. And I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. And the Bayfront project is kind of not going the way it's supposed to go or whatever. So do you support like a lottery system for developments outside my door?
So we have those for certain buildings. Um, and they're hypothetically, for example, so let's say you have a project that is in a redevelopment area. So a redevelopment area is a piece of land that has restrictions on what you can build, how many units, how many have to be affordable. Are there certain community benefits that have to be part of the development? And so then when those affordable units come online, there's an application process and a lottery. And there was a building on Bergen, 307 Bergen. I attended the ribbon cutting, 12 affordable condos. They had 2,000 applicants. And so, what that tells me is we just need to build a lot more housing. Now, I know how that sounds to, your 2-3 family homeowner. You're not, those folks don't want, a 7-story apartment building on their block. But I think we need 7-story apartment buildings where they make sense, right? And so, um, there still is, a good amount of land to be developed in Ward B on the west side. And we want to prioritize affordability. That's something that Mayor Solomon ran on. In terms of Bayfront, that's a huge redevelopment area, and so they're very strict requirements on what developers have to build when they build there. I will be on the Bayfront Advisory Committee, so I'm excited to to see and support what moves forward. I think there's going to be 4 phases. The first phase, the hope is to break ground within the next year or 2 years. And this is something that's been in the works for many, many years, and we just got to work like heck to get these buildings up and get people in these buildings. The first phase is going to have 50% affordability. So 50% market rate, 50% affordability.
Got it. Yeah. It's a lot going up, and a lot, the sentiment is that, and I'll be interviewing your colleague, Councilman Zupa, June 1st. And the sentiment is that we don't want Jersey City residents being basically priced out. My rent is not cheap. Um, I have to like almost work 2 jobs and pick up a lot of overtime to supplement and do that. And I get it. I feel uh for my landlord. He's not a LLC or a big time. No, seriously, like he's not a what we used to have in Jersey City, a Dixon Leasing or something, the Kushners or whatever the case may be, or
Mm-hmm.
ARE and stuff like that. I feel for him, and so I understand, but I have to make rent, and he has to make certain taxes, he has to, make certain things on his end. So, we just don't want Jersey City to be, priced out, because I'm born and raised here and I want to stay here. And I don't want to move anywhere else. I can't move. It's not convenient. I'm 10 minutes away from the path, maybe 10 minutes away walking from the light rail. I'm going to work tonight. Like, so, what's your take on that?
The people that have invested in Jersey City, with a modest 1, 2, or 3 family home, we should make sure that those folks can stay in Jersey City. And, I think you're right to point out the difference between someone like that and, a speculator or a large corporation who, they're looking just at maximizing their profit per square foot. So, we have a huge responsibility and we take it very seriously in terms of making Jersey City more affordable. And that does mean, if there is a tax increase, that we justify it. That we justify it with better services, more responsive government, more transparent government. And so, that is our promise to folks that we cannot promise a tax decrease. And I don't think anyone running for mayor or council promised that. And if they did, shame on them. So, we do, keep those folks in mind when we're governing. And tax increases are not to punish people. It's to make sure that we can keep the core services of government going.
So Esther has another question. She said Solomon's campaign, well, she makes a statement. She said Solomon's campaign promised $1,000 rental units. Is that still a plan? And have there been discussions about this amongst the council?
I have not had any discussions specifically about $1,000 rental units. I think kind of the phase we're in currently is the developments that were approved and that are in motion were approved under the previous administrator and previous administration rather. So, the flow for people, if you're not familiar with it, it's someone buys a piece of land. They have to go before planning and zoning. And that's where, or if it's in a redevelopment area, they have to go, through the JCRA. So that is where those kind of requirements can be placed. Some people call it like upstream, right? By the time it gets to the council, downstream, it's done, right? We're not really in a position to make a lot of demands or negotiate. So, I know that's something that the mayor is focused on in terms of getting upstream of these developments. That's why he hired his deputy mayor, Keshav Podar. This is someone that comes from that world. He's an attorney. He did affordable housing deals for a living. So I don't know of any, developments that are coming out imminently with the $1,000 rents. But as soon as there will be one, I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Okay. Let's transition. I know Councilman, I want to transition to this conversation surrounding government staffing and appointments, residency. So basically, the recreation director, the new one that was appointed and voted in. Did you support the vote in favor of the recreation director and recommended by James Solomon?
I did. I voted for Director Pete Vincent. I had a meeting with him. We all did, where we asked him questions that were important to us, and I also took a meeting with Coach Tom Best as well, because he was not nominated by the administration. I know he did go through an interview process, and there was a outpouring of community support for him, and so I felt it was important to sit down with him and hear his case for why he should be the rec director. And ultimately, Coach Best did get a position that I think is going to be, he's going to do great things for the residents of Jersey City, and I'll say it so he doesn't have to. It's a promotion, which he deserved. So, once he was awarded and accepted that position, I felt like, okay, it's, Pete made his case, the mayor made his case. Councilman Navarro said something that I really agreed with, which is, by and large, the mayor should have deference in terms of personnel. He doesn't tell us who we can hire in terms of people, our council aides. So, he hires the people that fit in with his vision, and our role is to hold them accountable.
Got it. Do you believe residents deserve more transparency regarding appointments and selected and are selected and approved?
That's an interesting question. These are personnel decisions, and I think residents do get transparency, maybe not around the process, but with the people, because they do come before the caucus, and they have to answer questions from the council people. And we have not been shy about asking questions, for the directors that have come before us. And then we get to ask more questions at the council meeting on Wednesday. So in terms of the process behind the scenes, like why this person, why not that person, I'm not privy to that. I'm not part of the mayor's hiring process. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of I agree with Councilman Navarro. It's James won the seat, and he gets to pick his team. And then again, our role is to hold the administration accountable, right? If someone is hired for a particular role and they say they're going to, deliver on a certain piece of the mayor's agenda, we have, our role is to hold them accountable.
Got it. Recently, there's been criticism and public discussion surrounding council members now having expanded staff and raises approved. For viewers unfamiliar with the issue, can you explain why council members now need larger staffs?
Sure. So I think there's a lot of confusion around this particular point. So I'll just share, my experience with coming into the position and what my understanding was. So when I came to the position, what's on the books is cities of the first class are permitted to have a budget for each council member of $300,000 with a cap of $75,000 max per staff person. That's a big number. I know that there's some sticker shock involved with hearing that number, especially on one hand, you say, hey, we're in a budget crisis and your taxes are going to go up. And on the other hand, you say, oh, every council person needs 4 full-time people. Holy cow, right? So, there was a negotiation around what that number ultimately should have been. We came in with a budgeted amount at 120 for staff, and it went up to 175. So there was a modest increase. And when people talk about raises, I mean, it wasn't like we raised the amount that people, like the maximum amount that people could be paid individually. We raised the aggregate amount that could be spent for each council office. Now, some people have, a couple people at the max, some people have a lot of part-time staff, and it's up to the council person, how they do that. So that's how all of that works. So the only difference, from this year to last year is the total number that each council office has to spend. That went up by $55,000. Not every council person is actually maximizing that. I myself am not. You can, I'll say it because I know people will Oprah it. Right now, I am spending 97.5 out of the 175 that I could spend. So, that amount is budgeted, but I'm not spending it. So, I just want to be transparent about that.
And we appreciate your transparency for that. There's been has also been public discussion regarding residency waivers involving city employees, council aides, including your staffer, Clarissa Cunningham. Can you explain the position regarding residency waivers?
Sure. So this is something, again, coming into the role, when we were hiring our staff, we were told that there was no residency requirement for council aides. Okay. So, again, it's public information. I'm not the only council member that has a staffer that does not live in Jersey City. And, that was the assumption I was operating under. So the residency requirement waiver that came before us was something that the administration brought. I think, again, to be candid, I think they were more concerned with the directors that they were bringing in. And, I don't think that the mayor is, losing sleep over a council aide that doesn't live in Jersey City. So, what they did, the administration did, was they bundled up all of the staff, executive and council staff that do not live in Jersey City, and we voted on the waiver all at once. So, listen, there's included in that waiver is our clerk, who is, he said it publicly. He grew up, born and raised in Jersey City, and lives in Bayonne, but, you would never say that, Sean Gallagher does not have the best interests of Jersey City at heart in his role. And so, for my aide, Carissa, they worked on my campaign, and I know I'm not the first or the last elected official who's hired someone from their campaign. There's a level of trust there when you work together, when you go through the fire with someone. And, I think that people that have gotten to know Carissa have gotten to, understand that they're a really hard worker, and they're here for the residents of Jersey City. I also have a part-time aide who is born and raised in Jersey City. Her name is Michelle. So,
Spoken to just via email. They both have been very kind. So just
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I just want to, I've caught a little bit of heat online for having an aide that's not living in Jersey City, but I also have one that was born and raised here. So, for your information,
it balances out. For viewers unfamiliar with the issue, No, well, you answered that, so that's fine. So let's get right into it, and then we'll close out the interview. When residents hear the phrase West Side, Best Side, do you believe City Hall fully reflects and represents the people of the West Side the way it should?
I think that there has been a change in respect and attention, and I'll highlight a couple things. One, the mayor came out with an executive order around uh, housing penalties for landlords that have broken the law and enforcing rights for tenants, and he held that event in Ward B. And he, so I think, that was intentional, and I tip my hat to him and credit him for that. I think you see, an administration that is, digging into the needs and the problems of people on the West Side, and really listening to them. And, I think there was a morale kind of situation in the last year of the Fulop administration. I'll put it that way, that, maybe people didn't feel valued and respected, and we weren't getting the level of service that residents deserve. But I will say I've noticed that has changed. And, people are proud to work hard and give the residents the best service that they can. And that has translated, like I mentioned, Fairmount Triangle Park, right? That's a park that was just really, it was shameful, the state that it was in. But this administration acted very quickly to fix it. So I tip my hat.
One word to describe Ward B.
One word? Welcoming.
Yes, I agree with that. Biggest strength of Jersey City overall?
Our people. Yeah.
Biggest challenge facing Jersey City going forward?
I think our biggest challenge is making Jersey City more affordable for working class people, poor people, and also kind of your workforce in terms of income, making sure that those folks can stay here too, and that they're not. I think sometimes when people leave Jersey City, it's not that they can't afford to stay here. It's that they decide, you know what, for the same money, I'm going to get a different environment, a different level of service from the government. Maybe it's a little cleaner. And we don't want people to leave Jersey City because they feel like their government is not responsive and doing the best that we can.
Most underrated issue in Ward B?
Most underrated issue, I would say, I'd say tree canopy and flooding. We have a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of blocks with like almost no trees. And that's something, you really look at, the world differently when you're in government. And, when I see paved lots in front of people's houses and, in their backyards, I know it's easier to maintain. But it does cause our city to be hotter. And when we have rain, there's nowhere for the water to go. because the ground's not there to absorb it. So I think tree canopy and flooding and kind of land that can absorb big storms that we're going to continue to get.
Most definitely, especially where I'm at down here. We get a lot of the rain, that comes down to down the hill, and it floods down here, down that west side and 440 and all that. So I definitely agree with you on that. If you could immediately fix one issue tomorrow, what would it be?
Increased and different types of transit in our ward, so we could have less cars on the street.
Are you in support, just a follow-up, are you in support of maybe the light rail being expanded, maybe to Bayfront once Bayfront is developed?
Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer. That is an approved extension. I think the reason it hasn't moved forward, I think, is it's going to be a state project and it's going to require
surveys and stuff like that, right?
Right, but also like a lot of money. And so I think before the state commits that money, they want to see Bayfront kind of get going, because you don't want to build a train to nowhere. What is the match between like how much of Bayfront has to be done before they start the light rail, or do you start the light rail and then it's ready when the development is finished? I don't know the answer to that. But I do absolutely support the extension and would advocate for its speedy construction once we get going.
And last, before we get into our little interactive game, what legacy do you hope to leave behind in public service?
I'm not even through my first year, so that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, I in terms of, I don't want to think about legacy. We're really a one day at a time.
Gotcha.
Foot by foot, block by block office, and we keep track of every call and email that comes in. So
sure do.
Even if your issue is, whether your issue is, I have to move out because there's flooding and my landlord is a slumlord and won't fix it and I'm getting overcharged, whether it's that or whether it's, something that maybe is not life or death. Our commitment is to investigate what your issue is and try to resolve it and get back to you. So we just want to be, really responsive, and might have to hire another person to do that. I left a little wiggle room in the budget, so
yes. So that means that we're going to start our little interactive game, and then end the interview after that. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry, I'm a one-man band here. We're just going to go to a quick 9-second commercial.
Okay.
And I will be right back.
All right.
Let me just move.
Grayson Politics Live, I'm Grayson. Please support the show via the Cash App and Zelle handles and by liking, following, and subscribing. And catch us every Monday at 7:30 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. Grayson out.
You're watching a Grayson Media production. Thank you for watching. I'm Grayson. We'll be right back. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the content. We'll be right back.
Grayson Politics Live, I'm Grayson. Please support the show via the Cash App and Zelle handles and by liking, following, and subscribing. And catch us every Monday at 7:30 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. Grayson out.
Okay, we are back, and we're So this is like more like a we normally call this like a quick rapid fire. Or you're the first. By the way, let me applaud you again because you're our first elected official. I've been interviewing a bunch of which I have no knock on candidates. It's very hard to run a campaign, as you know. Gentleman from Iowa, he ran for state office. I've interviewed a young lady who's running for Congress in Maryland. Um, all over, state delegate in Baltimore. He's running in his district. So it's but you are our first actually elected official. And one reason why I didn't reach out to you when you ran, because I know how I don't, I've been to a couple of Solomon, a big supporter of Solomon. Um, but I have a little criticisms. Everybody doesn't do everything perfect the way you want them to do it, or the way you do them right. Everybody says first 100 days. I'm gonna give him at least a year. And even the council, 6 months to a year before I start making my, you know, not judgments, but at least constructive criticism on how you guys govern. But basically, I appreciate you being on the show, and it's very hard to run a campaign. I've been to some of the campaign rallies and stuff like that, and between your personal life and your regular 9 to 5 and what you do, so kudos to you on that, and kudos to your team for putting this together, um for that. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me here. Yeah.
So we're gonna call this segment West Side Best Side Quick Fire. And so it's gonna be like a rapid fire. So favorite restaurant or food spot in Jersey City, specifically Ward B?
I knew you were going to ask that. I'm going to share where I've gone the most, where I probably spent the most money. And that's Mi Mexico on West Side Ave. And it's a Mexican restaurant. It started out as a food truck and now it's a brick and mortar, and just excellent food. My daughter, who will be 3 in June, she loves it. My partner, we love it. So I could, give you other spots, different cuisines, but I would say of all the places in Ward B, that's why I've probably eaten the most.
Okay, I'll be sure to check that out. Favorite Jersey City tradition or event?
I really like the Filipino parade. When I first moved here, I lived on Gifford and Kennedy, and at the time the parades were launching from the Lincoln statue. And working for a healthcare union, there are a lot of Filipino healthcare workers that are part of our union, and it was really just every year. Well, at the time, really cool to just see people that I knew marching. And that's a community that has been very welcoming to me on the West Side. So I'd say the Filipino parade.
Favorite music artist or genre?
Favorite music artist or genre?
Yeah, I've seen you post some, or at least you're in full control of your Instagram, correct?
90%. Yeah.
90%. Yeah, you post some things, and I like your taste. So, but go ahead.
Thank you. Something that sometimes surprises people. I'm into like heavy metal and like punk rock, hardcore. And that's one cool thing about Northern New Jersey is there's a lot of like small venues where you could see indie, indie music and really good um, rock, punk rock in particular. So that is probably the genre I listen to the most frequently when I'm working. I tend to listen to jazz. I grew up listening to and playing a lot of jazz. And my favorite, I don't know if I could give you my favorite artist. Too hard. Too
Okay.
hard.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. Okay.
Yeah. Strong.
Favorite hobby outside of politics?
Working part-time and being a council member and being a parent in my free time, I don't really get a lot of it. But I love a good sci-fi, fantasy, or horror novel.
Okay.
Just kind of turn off my brain, escape to another world. So I don't get a lot of time to just sit and read.
Of course.
Because there's always emails to respond to and text messages and all that stuff. But yeah, sitting and reading.
Favorite movie or TV show?
So that's the movie's easy. E.T. is my favorite movie of all time. Favorite TV show? I have to go back to like what I've watched over and over. I mean, Breaking Bad, I guess.
Is that with the guy from Malcolm in the Middle?
The dad. Yep.
Cranston, right?
Bryan Cranston. Yep.
Yes.
New show that has really hooked me. The Pit. I really, really enjoy that.
That's with don't tell me. Is what's his name? He was married to Jennifer Gardner.
Oh,
Batman.
Ben Affleck? No, he's not in that. The Pit is Noah Wiley from ER.
Okay, but he's not affiliated with that. No, right?
Ben Affleck?
Yeah,
I don't believe unless he's behind the scenes or something. Okay. But it's a hospital show and it takes place like in quote unquote real time, like a 12-hour shift.
Okay. I've heard good things about it.
It's a great show. Great show. And I love watching it with my partner who's a nurse. And she's always like, oh, yeah, that's right. They're doing, saying the right thing, calling for the right test. So it's very true to life in terms of the actual medical care that they're providing.
Got it. We're almost done, Councilman. Almost done. If you weren't in politics, what career would you probably have?
I have been in the labor movement for so long, it's hard to imagine doing something else, but being in government is a nice complement to that because there's a lot of the kind of same skills. What could I do, with like the skills and experience that I have, like what could I do, that would be kind of like off the beaten path. I think, entertainment labor is a really interesting field. You have actors and writers and directors, trying to protect themselves against AI. And, so it's, a really interesting field and getting to work with people who create for a living would be really interesting.
Describe Ward B in 3 words.
3 words. Okay. 3 words. Okay. Hardworking. That's hyphenated, so we'll count that as 1. Proud. And the last one we will go with How about I'm going to cheat and go back to my one word and say welcoming.
Yeah, very true. Who inspired you growing up?
Growing up, I was a big sports guy. Grew up a Knicks fan, Yankees fan.
Congrats, by the way. I'm a Lakers fan, but congrats.
So I mean, definitely kind of like looked up to a lot of athletes, but as I got older, like they're not role models for life, right? They're just kind of people you look up to for the superhuman feats that they're able to accomplish. But historical figures, I'd say like someone like Nelson Mandela, who
nice pick,
evolved politically over the course of his life, went to jail for his beliefs, and came out of prison. He was a political prisoner and led the country through a period of turmoil and healing, and so he's definitely a role model.
Nice pick, excellent pick, especially for someone who has been to Robben Island myself.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's very inspirational. Long flight, but it's very very inspirational to see how he went through all that and then ran that country. Last one. Complete this sentence. West side, best side means blank.
West side, best side means the people here take pride in our neighborhood, in our neighborhoods, because we have smaller, kind of pockets. We don't have the tallest buildings, but we have, and I will say we kind of want to keep it that way.
Yes.
But we have people that really take pride in living here and want to make it better. And that's, people reach out to me. I've had people like, oh my God, must get so many complaints. And I don't look at it that way. I look at it as people want to make Jersey City better when they're reaching out. If they see something that's not working, they're not letting me know for fun. They're letting me know because they want to see, things improved. So we have a lot of engaged, knowledgeable residents, people that have, fought to get parks opened. People have, that have fought for Bayfront to happen. People that have organized their workplace. So we have a lot of fighters and people who really care about their neighborhood and Jersey City overall on the West Side.
Councilman Brooks, before we close tonight's interview, I want to give you the floor once again for the final thoughts, closing remarks, message you would like to leave directly with the residents of Ward B and Jersey City overall.
Sure. I'm surprised you didn't ask me about democratic socialism.
Oh, well, we had we can speak about it if you want. I mean,
sure.
We have a time limit, so I was trying to keep to that, but yes, which I'm a big supporter of.
Okay. Well, hey, see, people are out there. So, I mean, I think that is something that, 4 years ago, I got a lot of questions on. This year, same thing. And, I think what our movement has benefited from are people like Bernie Sanders, or Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Mayor Mamdani, the mayor of Seattle. I mean, so I think we're in a time period where, I just saw online today that I think in Trump's presidency, one of the founders of Google has doubled his wealth. He's worth almost $400 billion. Mm-hmm. And, you can't sit here and tell me that he earned that. Right. And, as a democratic socialist, my belief is that we do have abundant resources We do have people that are fantastically wealthy, wealthier than at any time in human history, right? And at the same time, we have hospitals closing in our city, right? At the same time, we have to fight for our public schools to be funded. At the same time, we have, 12 affordable condos go on the market with 2,000 applications. So what that tells me is we need a different system. We need a different way of approaching government. And we need a system that prioritizes working people, and not the 1%, not even the 1%, because the 1% now is like, I don't know, $500,000 a year, maybe $600,000 a year. I'm talking about the 0.1%, right?
Yeah.
Like, those are the people that are buying politicians. They are, buying the courts, and, at the same time, fighting people trying to make a better life for themselves, by building a union, or by organizing a union. So, that's why I'm a democratic socialist. I believe we need a different system in this country, that prioritizes people, not profit. So, hasn't come up. It hasn't come up that much, like, since I've been elected. We're governing, in Ward B as, like I said, we want to respond to every single person that reaches out.
Mhm.
And that's not like, capitalist or socialist. It's just, we want to be responsive. But in terms of, like, our vision for society and the work that we want to do long term, it does inform that, that vision. So.
Got it. Councilman Brooks, thank you again for joining us on Grayson Politics Live, a Grayson Media Inc. production. Thank you for everyone watching tonight. Councilman, stay on just for 2 seconds. I'm going to put you behind the scenes. We're just going to talk briefly. Want to thank again. And please continue to stay informed, stay engaged, and continue participating in these important conversations, because strong communities are built through transparency, accountability, and civic engagement. Please like and follow and subscribe across all social media platforms. I'm Grayson. Good night, Jersey City, and good night, the country, but good night, Jersey City, in this special edition. And remember, West Side is the best side. We're gonna end stream.
Thank you for watching Grayson Media, a Grayson Media Inc. production. We'll see you on the next show. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Grayson out.